Tonight, the rain is in your room. Whether or not it is actually falling outside, the sound of soft rain is here, gently filling the space around you. It is the world's oldest lullaby, a sound the body has been learning since long before there were words for it. Soft rain is not a tool. It is not a technique. It is a kind of company. For the next hour or so, the rain will stay nearby, while we walk slowly through 100 quiet facts about it. Some come from science. Some come from the world's languages. Some come from the way the body, very privately, recognizes rain as something it has always known. You don't have to listen carefully. You don't have to do anything with the rain. It will simply be here. You're allowed to drift in and out of these facts. You're allowed to stop listening at any moment. Because none of this is going anywhere, and neither, tonight, are you. Let's begin. Gently, under the soft sound of rain. Soft rain belongs to a family of sounds the ear has always quietly recognized as gentle. Wind moving through tall grass. Waves arriving and leaving on a quiet shore. Leaves shifting in a tree somewhere overhead. And rain soft. Even. Unhurried rain. These sounds form a single, ancient family. The body has heard them in every century, in every place, in every language that has ever been spoken. Long before there were microphones or measurements, the ear had already, very privately, learned to read these sounds as not threat, not emergency, not asking anything of you. Researchers describe this family as natural soundscapes, and they have noticed, very gently, that the body tends to do something quieter underneath them. Perhaps the heart slows a little. Perhaps the breath softens. Perhaps the small electricity in the skin eases. None of this requires belief. The body simply does it, the way it has always done it. And so tonight, when the rain is here, the body recognizes it. There is no learning to do. The recognition arrived a very long time ago. Perhaps let the jaw soften, as if releasing the words it didn't say today. There is nothing the jaw needs to hold tonight. Scientists call this family of soft, even sounds pink noise, a plain name that doesn't quite do justice to its kindness. In pink noise, every frequency the ear can hear is present, but the higher pitches are softer than the lower ones. The sound has a soft ceiling. Steady rain falls inside this same acoustic shape. And a careful 2022 review of natural sleep sounds described soft, steady rainfall as one of the clearest everyday examples of pink noise, a sound the ear seems to classify very quickly as familiar. The ear actually finds pink noise a little easier to be near than ordinary noise. Perhaps because pink noise leaves room for silence to be itself, the way a soft curtain leaves room for the wall behind it. There is no need to remember any of this tonight. The body has already understood it, longer than any laboratory has been around to study it. And so the rain becomes, very simply, what it has always been, a soft sound. The body knows how to lie down inside. Soft rain is, in a way, the sky's pink noise blanket, woven from a billion small drops, each falling in its own quiet time. Imagine, very softly, every drop on a roof tonight. A drop here, a drop there, a drop a moment later, somewhere else. Each drop is small. Each drop is different. But together, they make a sound that is wide and even, and somehow whole, a soft cloth of sound stretched across the night. This is what blankets do. They are made of 1,000 small threads, but the body feels them as one warm, single thing. Rain, in this sense, is the sky's way of weaving a blanket out of falling water. It is older than wool, older than cotton, older than any fabric the world has ever made. And like a blanket, it does not need to be remembered in order to be felt. Tonight, the rain is the room's softest blanket. It does not cover the body, it covers, instead, the air around the body, and that, somehow, is enough. The ear, for reasons it cannot quite explain, finds pink noise sounds easier to be near than ordinary noise. Researchers have noticed that when people listen to white noise, the sharper, brighter cousin of pink noise, they often describe it as static, or as harsh, or as something they would like to turn down. With pink noise, the same people often describe the sound as softer, deeper, more pleasant, more like nature. The science is not finished. The ear, though, which has been listening for a very long time, seems to have already chosen its favorite. Soft rain falls quietly inside this preference. Listeners describe it with words like cozy, calm, comfortable, natural, the kind of words a tired person uses when they are finally home. None of this is a reason to listen carefully tonight. It is only a small explanation for why, when rain is in the room, the body sometimes lets out a small sigh it didn't know it was holding. Perhaps the body has its own quiet preferences, and tonight, soft rain is one of them. Rain doesn't silence the world, it softens it. The way a curtain softens light coming through a window. Some sounds erase. They cancel. They leave nothing behind. Soft rain is not one of those sounds. Rain doesn't ask the world to be quiet. It only asks the world to be a little more even. Distant traffic, the small clicks of a heating system, a voice somewhere down the hall, all of these are still here, but they are gathered up into a softer fabric. Researchers call this auditory masking, and they describe it as a way that one steady, kind sound can hold 100 sharper sounds inside it without making them disappear. Rain does this very gently. It doesn't argue with the world. It only offers it a softer voice. The room, in turn, becomes a little easier for the body to lie down inside. The world is still there. It just has its volume softened by rain. And that, very often, is all the body has been asking for. Each drop arrives more or less on time, and the brain, very privately, reads this as safe. The brain is, among other things, a quiet pattern finder. It listens to a sound, decides whether it is predictable, and then decides whether to stay alert. Sudden, unpredictable sounds tend to keep the brain alert. Steady, predictable ones tend to let it rest. Rain is unusually generous in this way. Each drop is its own small event, but together they form a rhythm that the brain decodes, almost instantly. As not an emergency, there is no need to track the next drop. There is no need to anticipate the rhythm. The rhythm simply continues, soft and even. As it has done for as long as rain has fallen, the brain reads this and lowers its small flashlight of attention The body, hearing the brain rest, rests too. Safety, here, is not really a place. It is just the sound of something steady that does not ask anything of you. There is no soloist in rain, only a whispered chorus that never asks anything of you. Music has a way of asking the heart to follow it. A melody rises, and the body rises with it. A song slows, and the breath slows too. This is part of what makes music beautiful. But it is also what can make music a little tiring at the end of a long day. Rain is different. There is no melody in rain, no soloist, no climax to arrive at. Rain is, instead, a quiet chorus of small voices, none of them louder than the others, none of them asking the heart to keep up. You can listen to rain for a very long time and never be asked to feel anything in particular. The chorus simply continues, even as you drift in and out of it. Music wants to be heard. Rain only wants, very gently, to be near. If you'd like, let the shoulders fall a little farther, like leaves heavy with quiet rain, no longer holding themselves up. Inside that whispered chorus, the night has space to breathe in long, slow lines. The night, when there is no rain, is sometimes a little too quiet. Every small sound becomes a question. The hum of the refrigerator, the click of a wall settling, a bird that woke up a few hours too early. All of them, against perfect silence, can sound like punctuation marks. Rain changes this. Rain becomes a soft, ongoing surface of sound, and the small clicks of the world settle gently into it. The night, in this sense, gains a kind of breathing. It exhales when the rain pauses. It inhales when the rain returns. The body, lying in the room, very often begins to breathe along with this larger, quieter rhythm without noticing it has done so. The night has its own way of breathing tonight, and rain is the long, slow line of its breath. Some sounds demand the ear. Rain only invites it. Demanding sounds are everywhere in modern life. A phone notification, a sharp voice, a car horn that does not seem to stop. The body, after a long day of these sounds, often arrives in the evening with the ear still slightly braced, still slightly listening for the next demand. Soft rain is one of the few sounds that does not behave this way. Rain doesn't grab. Rain doesn't insist. Rain doesn't even really arrive. It simply continues. The way a river continues. The way breath continues. The ear, once it understands that rain is not going to demand anything of it, slowly lets go of its small bracing. The whole body softens behind that small letting go. Often, without anyone noticing it has happened. En invitation is, after all, a very different thing from a demand. Tonight, the rain is only making an invitation. There is no need to accept it. There is no need to refuse it. It simply stays. Under the sound of soft rain, the heart often slows, very slightly, all on its own. In a careful 2019 study, using gentle measurements of forest and water sounds, researchers observed that listeners' heart rates softened during exposure to natural soundscapes. Their breathing slowed. Their nervous systems, very quietly, shifted toward what scientists call the parasympathetic state, the body's settle branch, the one that lowers, smooths, rests, This is not something the listeners decided to do. It is something the body, hearing rain-like sounds, simply did on its own. There is no effort involved, no technique, no counting. The heart had been waiting, perhaps, for a sound it could trust. And, hearing one, it slowed. The same thing seems to happen, very privately, in rooms all over the world tonight. Anywhere there is soft rain near a tired body. Tonight, the heart can do this without being asked. The rain is here. The slow part already knows the way. The breath, without trying, often borrows rain's rhythm long, even, unhurried. The body has a long history of borrowing rhythms from the world around it. Walking with someone, you often fall into their pace. Sitting beside a sleeping cat, you often slow your breath to match. Rain is one of the world's oldest, slowest companions, and the breath is unusually willing to borrow from it. This is not a technique. There is no counting, no holding, no specific instruction. The breath simply notices the soft, even pattern of rain and, over time, drifts towards something gentler. The chest moves in longer, smoother lines. The pause at the top of each breath becomes a little longer. The pause at the bottom does too. The lungs, in a sense, become a little more like a soft sky. There is no need to do this on purpose. The breath has already heard the rain. It will follow as much as it wants to, and no more. The skin remembers rain before the mind, does a quiet recognition older than any thought. Long before language, before fire, before anything that could be called a name, the human body lived in a world where rain was simply part of the weather. Bodies stood in it. Bodies sheltered from it. Bodies listened to it from inside caves, and later from inside small huts, and later from inside houses of every shape. The skin learned, over an unimaginable number of nights, to recognize the small change in air pressure that comes before rain, the slight cool, the slight stillness. The way the world sometimes seems to hush itself just before drops fall. Most of us no longer notice this consciously. The skin, however, has not forgotten. It still does its quiet, ancient work. Even tonight, in a room far from any forest, the body knew rain long before any of us did. It is, in a way, very glad it is here. The forehead, for some reason, often softens under rain, the way a window softens after the first soft drops. There is a small group of muscles between and just above the eyebrows that hold a great deal of the day for most people. Frowns of concentration, frowns of worry, frowns of squinting at screens. By evening, these muscles are often quietly tired, even if their owner has not noticed. Soft rain seems to give them, very gently, permission to let go. Researchers measuring nervous system activity have noticed that under nature sounds, activity in some parts of the prefrontal cortex tends to soften and, with it, the forehead too. There is no instruction needed. The face simply, very privately, takes the chance to set down something it had been holding, and the forehead becomes, very briefly, a small window in the rain clear, cool, no longer fogged with the day. Quiet rain seems to release something the shoulders had been carrying all day. Shoulders are quiet workhorses. They lift bags. They hold up the head. They tighten, often without permission. When something difficult appears on a screen or in a conversation, by the time evening arrives, most shoulders have been holding more than they realized. Soft rain seems to help. It is not exactly that rain unloads them. It is more that rain provides, for a long stretch of minutes, a sound so steady and unconcerned that the shoulders feel safe enough to put a few things down. They don't have to put everything down. They don't have to do this on purpose. The rain simply continues. And the shoulders, hearing it, take whatever small permission they need. Whatever the shoulders were carrying, most of it can stay where it is. But a little of it, perhaps, we can rest on the rain instead. Maybe notice the forehead, smoothing like a window after the first soft drops. The day is no longer asking the face to think. The vagus nerve, the long, gentle wanderer of the body, seems to have a soft spot for water sounds. The vagus nerve is the longest of the body's quiet messengers. It travels from the base of the brain, down through the throat, into the chest, and through nearly every organ that needs to be calmed. When the vagus is active, the heart slows, the breath softens, the belly relaxes. Researchers have noticed that gentle, predictable sounds, the kind that include rain, seem to support this nerve in its long, soft work. None of this needs to be deliberate. The vagus listens whether anyone is paying attention or not. Tonight, with rain in the room, it has good company. Its long, gentle path through the body is, very quietly, a little easier to travel. The body has a wanderer inside it. And tonight, the wanderer is walking gently beside the sound of rain. The parasympathetic system, the body's settled branch, often answers rain like an old friend. The nervous system has two main branches. One of them is the alert branch, the part that gets the body up and ready for the day. The other is the settle branch, sometimes called the parasympathetic system, which lowers, smooths, degusts, rests. Most days, the alert branch does most of the talking. By evening, the settle branch is often waiting for some small permission to take over. Soft, predictable sounds, especially natural ones, seem to give it that permission. Rain is one of the gentlest of these. The settle branch hears rain and, very quietly, expands. Heart rate softens, digestion eases, muscles release a little. None of this requires effort. The settle branch knows rain. They have, in some ancient way, been on long walks together. Tonight, they are walking again. Even the small electricity in the skin tends to ease when rain is the loudest thing in the room. Skin carries a quiet, ongoing trace of how alert the body is feeling. When the body is stressed, the skin produces a small amount of moisture, and the moisture changes the electrical conductance of the surface. Researchers measure this and call it skin conductance. In a 2010 study, listeners exposed to nature sounds after a stressful task showed faster recovery in their skin conductance than listeners exposed to traffic noise of similar loudness. Loudness was not the deciding factor. The kindness of the sound was soft rain falls inside this kindness. The small electricity in the skin, hearing rain, lets out its slow breath of recovery. What the body responds to is not how loud a sound is, but how kind. And rain, even when it fills a whole room, has a kindness that goes a long way. The body has been listening to rain longer than it has been listening to anything else. If you traced the long evolutionary line of the human ear backwards, through generation after generation, you would find rain at the end of every century. There has never been a time when humans did not hear rain. Rain has been the soundtrack of every shelter, every campfire, every quiet birth, every quiet death. The body, in a sense, has been training to hear rain for a length of time that is hard to imagine. Music came later. Spoken language came later. Even the names of things came later. Rain was here first, and the body learned its sound first. And the body still remembers. When the rain is here tonight, the body is hearing something it has heard since the very beginning. Some recognitions don't need to be explained. Every drop of tonight's rain began as ocean somewhere, sometime. This is a very plain fact, but it is somehow almost too large to hold all at once. Each drop falling on the roof tonight was once part of a body of water somewhere on the planet. It might have been the Pacific. It might have been a small lake in a forest no one has ever named. It might have been a river that runs past a city you have never visited. At some moment, sun warmed that water, and a small piece of it lifted into the air. It traveled, sometimes for many days, sometimes across continents, and eventually it became a cloud. And then, eventually, it became this drop. Every drop tonight has come a very long way to be in this room. It is, in the smallest sense, like having a guest from somewhere far away, quietly arriving, quietly staying, quietly going. Then it became sun, and then sky, and then patient cloud. A drop's life is not a straight line. The journey of even a single drop usually involves many shapes. It is liquid in the ocean, then a kind of vapor in the warm air, then nothing visible at all as it drifts into the upper sky. Slowly, far above any city, it gathers with other invisible drops. Together they become a cloud, which from the ground looks soft and white and held still by something from the inside. Though a cloud is in constant, quiet motion, small drops being born, small drops being made, small drops becoming large enough, eventually, to fall. Each drop on the roof tonight has done this whole, long, gentle dance. What the body hears as a single drop is, in a way, the end of a very long journey. It has earned this small landing on the roof. A single drop spends days in the air before it lets itself fall. Clouds look stable from the ground, but inside them, drops are in constant motion. A drop will rise inside a cloud, fall a little, rise again, and grow. This can go on for days. The air inside a cloud is warmer than the air at the top, and so a drop never sits still. It travels up and down inside its small home until it becomes heavy enough that the air can no longer hold it. Only then does it fall, and only then does the body hear it. There is something, perhaps, very kind in this. Each drop has been quietly preparing for a long time. By the time it arrives in the room, it has already done all the work it needed to do. When a drop finally falls, it is letting go of a long balance. There is no struggle in it. only the soft moment of release. Whenever you're ready, let the hands open softly, palms cool as rain-touched stone. There is nothing for the hands to hold tonight. The shape of a falling drop, despite what childhood drawings suggest, is not a teardrop, it's a soft, flattened sphere. When children draw rain, they often draw small teardrops with pointed tops. The real shape of a falling drop, very gently, is different. As a drop falls, the air pressing on its bottom flattens it slightly, while the top stays softly rounded. It looks, more than anything, like a small, soft cushion of water, a sphere with a slightly flattened underside. The largest drops are no bigger than peas, and their shape grows even more flattened as they fall. They are not sharp, they are not pointed. They are, all the way down, a small piece of softness on a long journey. Even the falling shape of rain is gentle. There is nothing pointed about it, only soft sphere. After soft sphere, after soft sphere, meeting the world quietly. The largest raindrops are no bigger than peas, and they fall a little faster than the smallest leaves. It is easy to imagine, sometimes, that rain is some massive, distant force, clouds and storms and weight. The actual fact, though, is small and almost tender. The biggest drops in even a heavy rain are about the size of a green pea. The smallest drops are the size of a pinhead. Their falling speed is small, gentle enough that a person could, if they wanted to, watch a single drop almost the whole way down. Researchers measure these things very carefully because rainfall is such an important part of weather. But the basic shape of the truth is this: rain is made of small things, falling slowly, in extraordinary numbers. Nothing about rain, when you look at it gently, is large. It is only many small kindnesses, arriving at once. Each drop forms around something microscopic, a speck of dust, a grain of pollen, a tiny salt crystal from a far ocean. Water vapor in the sky cannot become a drop on its own. It needs, very politely, a small surface to gather around. These small surfaces are everywhere in the air. Pieces of dust lifted by the wind, pollen released by flowers, sea salt carried up from waves crashing in distant places, even tiny particles from forest fires that happened months ago. Each drop, when it forms, collects around one of these, so inside every raindrop is a small, almost invisible passenger, a piece of somewhere else, lifted and carried, and finally returned to the earth in the form of water. None of this is something the listener can see, but it is, in a quiet way, true. Every drop tonight is, in the smallest possible sense, carrying a tiny piece of the world inside it. And tonight, all of those small pieces are coming home. So every drop has a small companion at its center, a quiet passenger from somewhere else in the world. It is a strange and gentle thought, but there is no drop that is alone. Each one has formed around a tiny piece of something that traveled: pollen from a forest, salt from a distant sea, dust from a desert, ash from a mountain. Inside the soft sphere of every falling drop, that small companion rides, very quietly, all the way down. When the drop touches the roof, or the leaves, or the ground, the companion is gently set down too. And then, in time, the wind picks the companion up again, or the ground holds it, or it begins another long, patient journey. The body does not need to know any of this in order to hear the rain. It is only one of the soft secrets the rain is keeping tonight. Nothing about rain, in the end, is alone. Each drop has come from somewhere. Each drop has someone with it. And tonight, the body has rain, and that is, perhaps, a kind of company too. The water in tonight's rain has been here since before. There were continents in the shapes we know them. All of the water on this planet, every river, every cloud, every drop tonight has been on Earth for nearly the entire age of the world. It does not arrive from space. It does not leave for space. It only moves around. Some of it has been ocean for 1,000 years. Some of it has been ice for 100,000. Some of it has been a single, quiet cloud over a forest no one will ever see. The water that falls on the roof tonight has been moving in this slow, ancient way since long before the continents looked the way they do now. Every drop is, very quietly, ancien. There is no new water on this planet. There is only the same old water, finding new shapes. Tonight's rain is not new. It is old water, in a new room, with a tired listener, and it has done this kind of visiting many, many times before. A single drop is older than any kingdom that has ever existed. Empires rise and fall in a few thousand years. Languages emerge and disappear in a similar span. Even mountain ranges, on the scale of all of Earth's history, are relatively recent things. The water in a single raindrop, by contrast, has been on this planet for billions of years. It has seen, in some shape or other, every era, every age of stone, every age of bronze, every age of paper, every kingdom that has ever existed has had this same water passing through it, falling on its roofs, filling its rivers, drifting in its clouds. The drop on the roof tonight is, in a strange and almost too large way, older than every story humans have ever told. Whatever the day was like, it is younger than the rain. Whatever the listener is carrying tonight is younger than the rain. There is something quietly comforting in being held inside something so much older than the day. Clouds are, in a way, the sky's quiet thoughts, drifting and reshaping themselves all day. If you watch a cloud for long enough, you will notice it doing something gentle. It is rarely the same shape twice. The edges blur. The shape thickens here, thins there. New small wisps appear at the edges. Old wisps fade into the air around them. The cloud is, in a sense, thinking, though not with words. Of course, it is responding very softly to changes in the air, around it, temperature, pressure, the small currents of wind that no one inside a room can feel. By the time rain falls, the cloud has done a great deal of soft, slow work. The drop tonight is, in some sense, the conclusion of one of those quiet thoughts. The mind sometimes wishes its own thoughts could be more like this. Cloud thoughts have no urgency, no edges, no conclusions that anyone is waiting for. Tonight, perhaps, the mind can let some of its thoughts drift like this too. Perhaps the chest can rise and fall a little more slowly, in time with the rain outside. There is no rush in the chest tonight. A single cumulus cloud can weigh as much as 100 elephants, held aloft by air alone. It is one of the more astonishing facts of the natural world, but it is told very gently in the science of weather. Even an ordinary fair-weather cumulus cloud, the small, puffy, white kind that drifts through summer skies, can hold the weight of 100 elephants in water and ice. It does not fall, because the air beneath it is, in a manner of speaking, holding it up, warm currents, rising from below, pushing very softly against the underside of the cloud. The whole arrangement is so delicate, and yet so reliable, that we hardly ever notice it. The sky is, in this sense, doing something quietly heroic all day. Every day, for as long as anyone can remember. If the sky can hold up that much weight without seeming to try, perhaps the body can hold up its day a little more lightly. 2. Perhaps it already is. There is always rain falling somewhere on this planet at every hour, on every continent. The Earth is a large place, and its weather is never the same in all places at once. While one room is dry, another is under heavy clouds. While one city sleeps in clear air, another is just beginning to hear soft rain at its windows. There is no minute of the day when rain is not falling somewhere on the planet. This has been true, more or less, for as long as there has been weather. So the rain you might be hearing tonight is, in a small and quiet way, part of a long, unbroken chain, rain falling somewhere, in some shape, in some language. Every minute, the planet has been turning. You are not the only one being kept company by rain tonight. Millions of others are too. In rooms you will never see, there is something quietly companionable in that. Even from across the world, the atmosphere is never truly empty. It always carries water, even when the sky looks completely clear. On a bright, blue, cloudless day, it is easy to think the sky is empty of water. The truth is, even then, the air is full of it. Water vapor is invisible, but it is everywhere, drifting between molecules of nitrogen and oxygen, moving with the wind, slowly cycling through the upper atmosphere. The total amount of water in the air, over even a small region, can weigh thousands of tons. It is only when the air cools enough that this hidden water becomes visible first as cloud, and then, sometimes, as rain. The sky is, in this sense, never really empty. It is just sometimes carrying its water more privately. Tonight, the sky is sharing what it usually keeps to itself. It is letting some of its long-held water come down to be near. There is a quiet generosity in that. The same sky that holds tonight's rain held the rain of every ancestor. The atmosphere of Earth is, in some real sense, the same atmosphere that held rain over every grandparent, every great-grandparent, every distant ancestor whose name no one remembers anymore. It is not a new sky. It is not even a different sky. The molecules of air shift constantly, but the sky itself, as a place, has been here all along. The rain that fell on a long-ago child standing in a doorway has cycled through evaporation and cloud and rain again, into the rain, falling somewhere tonight. There is, in this strange way, a kind of family heirloom in the sky passed down without anyone asking, kept very gently, available to everyone. When the body hears rain tonight, It is hearing the same sky that countless others have heard. There is, perhaps, a small kindness in being part of that long, soft line. A storm, very softly, gives birth to soft rain when it begins to ease. Even the largest storms eventually loosen. The rain that falls hard at first slows. The wind that pushes against trees and walls quiets, and what is left, often, is the gentlest rain of all the long, soft, even rain that falls after the more dramatic part of the weather has moved on. Meteorologists call this the trailing rain, or sometimes the residual rain. To the listener inside, it is simply the rain that stays after the rest of the world has settled down. It has a different feel from the first rain. It is older. It is tireder. It is kinder. It seems to know, in its own quiet way, that the world has had enough drama for one day. Sometimes the gentlest rain is the rain that has already done its harder work elsewhere. Tonight, perhaps, that is the rain in the room, the rain that has nothing left to prove. Clouds release water back to the earth in the gentlest possible way. Most of the water that returns from the sky comes down as rain, the form that involves the least violence in nearly every sense. There is no falling rock, no rushing wind, no crashing wave. There are only small drops, falling at speeds that are easy for leaves and grass and roofs to absorb. Even fairly heavy rain is, by the standards of the natural world, a gentle event. Clouds could, in some imagined version of physics, to do this very differently. They do not protard. They have, over the long history of the planet, settled into the kindest possible way of giving their water back. The earth has, in turn, learned to receive it. The sky is gentle in how it lets go. The earth is gentle in how it receives. And tonight, the listener gets to lie inside that small, ancient courtesy between sky and ground. The sky has been raining, in one place or another, for nearly 4 billion years. The first rain on this planet fell long before there was anything alive to hear it. Hot oceans were just forming. The continents were not yet recognizable. The sky was a different color than the one we see now. And yet, somewhere in that very early atmosphere, drops formed and fell, and the planet began the long, soft work of making and unmaking water. That work has not stopped since. Rain has fallen, in some place, in some shape, for nearly the entire age of the earth. The rain on the roof tonight is, in this sense, not even a separate event. It is simply the latest moment of the same ongoing rain that has been falling for 4 billion years. There is a great deal of patience in rain. It has been doing this for a very long time. Tonight, it has plenty of patience left. You might let the belly soften, the way a garden softens in long, quiet rain. The middle of the body has nothing to brace for tonight. There is no rain tonight that has not also been rain before. Each drop on the roof tonight has, in some earlier era, also fallen as rain, perhaps many times. After a drop falls and is absorbed by soil, or runs into a river or fills a small puddle, the same water eventually rises again as vapor, becomes cloud, and falls as rain somewhere else. This cycle is so old and so quiet that the same molecule of water has likely been a raindrop somewhere thousands of times. So the rain tonight, in a sense, is not a new visitor. It is an old friend. Returning, the sound on the roof has been heard, in different rooms and different centuries, by countless other tired bodies, and it is now, in a small and quiet way, returning to this one. The rain tonight has done this many times. It is not new at being soft. It is not new at being kind. It has practiced, very privately, for billions of years. There is a word for the smell after rain on dry earth Petrichor, a soft, hush-shaped word. Two scientists, named Bear and Thomas, gave this smell its name in 1964. They borrowed two old Greek words, petros, meaning stone, and ichor, meaning the fluid that, in old myths, was said to run in the veins of the gods. Together they made petrichor, the fluid of stone, the smell of the world's dry places, remembering rain. It is, in many ways, a quiet word. The mouth has to soften to say it. The voice has to lower itself. It cannot be shouted without losing what it is. Even the sound of the word seems to know what it is describing, that small, gentle moment when the ground first lets out its long-held breath after a soft rain. Even the way humans name this smell is gentle. Some words ask to be whispered. Petrichor is one of them. The molecule we sense in petrichor is called geosmin, and the human nose can detect it in trillionths of a part. Geosmin is made by very small bacteria living in soil, especially after rain. The human nose, for reasons no one fully understands, is extraordinarily sensitive to geosmin. We can sense it at concentrations as small as 5 parts per trillion, a sensitivity sharper, in some measures, than a shark's ability to smell blood in water. There is something deeply ancient about this. The body seems to recognize the smell of damp earth at a level so fine that it suggests the recognition has been there a very long time. Why this is so is not entirely settled, but the simplest, kindest explanation is that humans, like many other animals, evolved to find rainwater, and the smell of geosmin was one. Very softly, a sign that water was near. The body has, in its quiet way, I've been waiting to smell rain for a very long time. Tonight, in a sense, that long wait is being soothed. Japanese has a word for rain that falls while the sun is shining, kitsune, no yom iri, the fox's wedding. In Japan, when rain falls while the sky is still bright with sun, people sometimes call it kitsune, no yomeiri, the fox's wedding. It is one of those quiet, linguistic gifts that suggests something kind about the people who first used the phrase. They saw the strangeness of rain mixing with sunshine, and instead of finding it troubling or odd, they decided it was a wedding. Some unseen, small celebration was happening, somewhere just out of sight. And the rain was its small, festive accompaniment. Many cultures have similar phrases. They turn an unusual moment of weather into something gentle, almost story-like, easier for the heart to hold. Even when rain seems out of place, somewhere, very privately, a fox might be getting married. The world is kinder when small mysteries are allowed to stay mysterious. Hindi has dozens of words for the many moods of monsoon: gentle, heavy, awaited, departing. In places where rain has shaped the rhythm of life for thousands of years, language has grown to match. Hindi, like many South Asian languages, has a remarkable abundance of words for rain. There are words for the first soft rain after a dry season, words for the rain that lasts for weeks, words for the rain that arrives at a particular time of year, words for the rain that you can feel approaching from a great distance. These words are not interchangeable. Each one names something specific, something the body has learned to feel. They are, in a sense, the languages of long, quiet listening built up by generations of people who, like tonight's listener, paid careful attention to rain. Where rain matters, language softens to make room for it. Tonight, the listener gets to be part of a very old, very quiet attention even from inside. Old Norse called the softest rain himmelrök twilight of heaven. In the long winters of the far north, language often grew gentle when speaking of weather. The Old Norse word, himmelrök, sometimes spelled slightly differently, meant the softest, dimmest kind of rain. The kind that falls at the edge of evening when the sky is almost dark, but not quite. It was the rain of in-between hours, the rain of half light, the rain that asked very little of anyone. The word itself, when softly spoken, sounds a little like the sound it describes. Some words, in some languages, manage to do this. They become small portraits of what they name, and people who use them often feel a little softer for having said them out loud. The softest rain has phoninged, in many languages, its own quiet name. Tonight, the listener can borrow whichever name feels gentlest. The rain itself does not mind which. Many languages have a separate word for rain heard at night, as if night rain belongs to a different family. Across a remarkable number of languages, Welsh, Tamil, Quechua, Russian, Korean, others, there are specific words or phrases for rain that falls at night. The night rain words tend to be softer, slower, more intimate than the daytime ones. They suggest that the people who first used these words noticed something gentle that rain heard from inside a quiet, dark room is, in some way, not the same as rain heard during the work of the day. The night rain is closer. It is more private. It belongs more to the listener and less to the wider world. Languages, in their own slow way, recorded that observation, sometimes thousands of years ago. Tonight, in this room, what the body is hearing is night rain, that special gentler kind. The world has had its own word for this. In many tongues, for a very long time, maybe the feet feel gently heavier, like roots rested in damp earth. There is nowhere they need to go. In Quechua, para simply means rain, and parani means to rain on someone, to be touched by it. The Quechua people of the Andes have lived with rain for thousands of years. Their language reflects something the listener might already feel in this room, that rain is not just a thing in the sky, but also something that touches the body. Para is the word for rain itself. Parani is the verb that describes rain, meeting a person to be rained on, to be touched gently from above by water that has come a very long way. There is no other action quite like it. To be rained on is to be reached by the sky, very softly, without having to ask. Quechua, like many old languages, gives that experience its own quiet word. Tonight, even from inside, The listener is in some sense being paranoid, gently met by rain, even if only through sound. The sky, in its quiet way, is reaching down. Welsh has glor, man the soft, fine, drifting rain that does not quite arrive. In Wales, where rain is part of the rhythm of nearly every season, the language has grown gentle around it. Glorman, pronounced something close to gloman, means the soft, fine rain, the kind that seems to drift more than fall, the kind that touches the face like a small mist rather than like distinct drops. It is the rain that you can stand in for a long time without quite getting wet. It is the rain that wraps a hillside in soft grey on slow afternoons. The Welsh have had a separate name for it for as long as anyone can remember, and the name has, in its sound, something of the rain it describes. Some rainfalls, some rain drifts. Tonight's rain, perhaps, is more like the drifting kind, closer to Glorman than to anything that needs to arrive. Every culture has named the small, kind rain because every culture has been quieted by it. If you ask a linguist for the words for rain across the world's languages, the answer will go on for a very long time. Almost every culture, in almost every place, has not just one word for rain, but many. And among those many words, there is almost always a special name for the soft, quiet kind, the kind that the whole village stops to listen to, the kind that comes at the right moment after a dry stretch, the kind that feels, more than anything, like a gift. This is not a coincidence. It is, in a way, evidence of something old, that humans, everywhere, in every era, have been quieted by gentle rain, and they have wanted, in their own way, to thank it by giving it a name. Tonight, the listener does not need to know any of these names. The rain is still here. It is still being thanked, very softly, just by being heard. The first rain on dry soil releases petrichor, the smell of earth waking up gently. When rain lands on dry earth after a long stretch without water, something quiet happens. The drops disturb the surface very slightly, and small bubbles of trapped air are released from the soil. Inside those bubbles are the molecules geosmin, mostly, and a few cousins of it that the human nose recognizes as petrichor. It is, in a sense, the soil's way of breathing out. After a long, thirsty silence, the earth lets out its small, sweet sigh. The smell rises into the air, sometimes for several minutes, before fading back into the wider weather of the night. It is one of the most universally loved scents in the world. In nearly every language and in nearly every century, the earth, when rain comes, does what the body sometimes does. It lets out a long, slow breath that it has been holding without noticing it was holding it. Moss drinks rain slowly, leaf by tiny leaf. Moss does not have roots in the same way other plants do. It absorbs water directly through its small, soft leaves. So when rain comes, moss does not have a single big arrival. It has thousands of small ones. Each leaf takes a tiny amount of water. The whole patch of moss seems to grow a deeper green slowly, leaf by leaf, over the long minutes of soft rain. Moss is, in a sense, one of the most patient drinkers in the natural world. It does not gulp, It does not pull, it only receives, slowly. What is given? A whole forest floor of moss can take in many minutes of rain without ever seeming to be in a hurry. Maybe the body, tonight, can drink rest away. Moss drinks rain slowly, without urgency, leaf by quiet leaf. Forest soils hold rain like a quiet sponge, releasing it back into rivers over weeks. Beneath the surface of any healthy forest is a layer of soil so soft and so full of small openings that it can hold an extraordinary amount of water. Rain falls. The forest floor receives it. The water sinks slowly downward, held lightly by the soil's many small spaces. From there, it leaks gently into roots, into deeper layers, into hidden underground rivers, and eventually into the streams and lakes that flow above ground. This whole release can take days, even weeks. The forest is, in this sense, one of the slowest and most patient ways water can move through the world. It is also one of the gentlest. Some things receive what they are given and pass it along very slowly. The forest knows how to do this. So, sometimes, does a tired body when it is given the gift of rain. A garden has a different sound when it rains softer, fuller, more itself. If you have ever stood at a window during quiet rain and listened to a garden, you may have noticed something. The garden is louder than you would expect, but in a small, gentle way. Each leaf catches drops at a different pitch. Tall grass holds rain differently from short grass. Wet stone makes a different sound than wet wood or wet earth. Together, all of these small differences become a soft, layered conversation, the garden speaking in many small voices at once. None of them louder than the others. Gardeners and naturalists have, very privately, loved this sound for centuries. Every garden becomes, in soft rain, a small, low choir. Tonight, perhaps the room itself becomes a kind of indoor garden with rain singing softly to it. If it feels right, let the eyelids grow softly heavier, like leaves lowering under drops. They have done enough seeing for today. Roots reach toward water without seeing, they find it in the dark, gently. Plant roots have a kind of quiet wisdom that is easy to miss, because it happens entirely underground. Roots, as they grow, are able to sense which direction water is coming from. They cannot see. They have no nervous system in the way animals do. And yet, when there is moisture nearby, the roots grow toward it, slowly and patiently, sometimes over months. When rain falls, those long, dark searches are softly rewarded. The water arrives. The roots, very gently, take what they need. The whole plant, above and below the surface, gets to relax a little, knowing that water has come, knowing the long search has, for now, been answered, even underground. In the dark, life is very quietly looking for what it needs. Tonight, the rain is, in many places, finding what was looking for it. There is a kind of gentle relief in that. The root tip is sometimes called the wisest part of the plant. At the very end of every root, there is a small section called the root tip. It is, in some ways, the most active part of the plant, the part that decides where to grow next, where to find water, where to avoid a stone. Botanists who study root behavior have noticed that root tips can sense an extraordinary number of things at once: gravity, and water, oxygen, even the small chemical signals released by other plants. Some scientists, very gently, have come to call the root tip something like the plant's brain. It is not a brain, exactly, but it is, perhaps, the place where the plant pays attention. And in soft rain, every one of these small attentions is being met with what it has been looking for. Deep underground, in the dark, very small wisdoms are being thanked tonight. The rain is here. The long looking has, for the moment, paid off. Mushrooms appear after rain because they have always been waiting for it. What we call a mushroom is, in fact, only the visible part of a much larger underground network. The actual body of the mushroom, a soft web of fibers called mycelium, is hidden in soil and wood. Most of the time, the mycelium is quiet. It grows slowly. It feeds slowly. It does not need to be seen. But when rain comes, especially after a dry stretch, something quiet shifts. The mycelium gathers a little energy and pushes a soft cap up to the surface. By morning, mushrooms are there, small, polite, suddenly present. They have been waiting underground. Sometimes for a long time, they are, in a sense, the visible thank you of the forest after rain. Some things wait underground for a very long time before they appear. They are not late. They are simply patient. Tonight, somewhere, mushrooms are quietly arriving. Soil after rain holds 500 million bacteria per gram, every gram. Very softly, alive. A single gram of healthy soil, about as much as fits on the tip of a teaspoon, contains, on average, hundreds of millions of bacteria, plus uncountable fungi, termites, and small invertebrates. After rain, this whole tiny community wakes up a little. The bacteria, which had been quiet during dry weather, suddenly have water to work with. They begin to digest, to grow, to release the molecules that the human nose recognizes as petrichor. The smell of damp earth is, in this sense, the smell of a very small, very busy city of life turning back on, gently. After rain, none of this asks anything of the listener. It is simply happening all over the world. Every time it rains, the ground is more alive than it looks. Tonight, somewhere, very small lives are softly waking. The rain has brought them everything they were waiting for. The earth always says yes to rain. It has never refused. In all of the long history of the planet, the earth has never, in any meaningful sense, refused rain. It absorbs what it can. It runs the rest into rivers, into low places, into oceans. It holds water in soil, in roots, in stone. Even the driest deserts say yes. When rain finally comes, they bloom for a few weeks afterward. In a soft, almost reluctant way, as if remembering, the earth and rain have, in this way, an extraordinarily old relationship. They have been at this for billions of years. They know each other. They have practiced this small exchange more times than anyone could ever count. When rain comes, the earth always answers, tonight, in some quiet way. The body can do that too, simply saying yes to the rain. without needing to do anything else. Birds often sing more quietly during rain, their voices held softly inside leaves. If you have ever walked in a forest during gentle rain, you may have noticed that the birds, while not silent, sound quieter. They are not alarmed. They are simply behaving the way birds behave when the air is full of water. Many species reduce their singing during rainfall, partly because the moisture muffles the sound, and partly because they conserve energy when the air is heavier. The birds that do sing tend to do so from sheltered places, deeper inside trees, where the rain does not fall directly on them. The forest, in soft rain, is full of small, hidden voices still there, just quieter than usual. Even the birds, in soft rain, sing more softly. Perhaps the body, tonight, can do whatever it has been doing a little more softly too. Frogs find their voice when rain begins. Some species call only after rainfall. Many frog species are nearly silent for most of the year. Then rain comes, and something quietly changes. The damp air, the wet ground, the small new pools forming in low places, all of this signals to the frogs that the time has come to call. Some species sing only at night, only during or after rain. Their voices, individually small, gather into a soft chorus that is one of the gentlest sounds the natural world makes. The chorus does not last forever. It rises with the rain, fades when the puddles dry, and returns the next time the sky lets go of its water. Some voices come out only when the world is wet. The rain, tonight, is calling out small, the hidden choruses somewhere in the world. Perhaps the fingers can uncurl, slow as petals after rain. They have been holding things all day. Tonight, they can simply rest open. Honeybees go inside, shoulder to shoulder, and wait for the world to dry. Bees are remarkably particular about weather. When rain begins, they do not panic. They do not scatter. They calmly, in groups, return to the hive. Inside, they cluster together, sometimes hundreds of them, in a small space, and simply wait. They keep the hive warm. They tend to the queen. They eat slowly from stored honey. They do almost nothing else. They are, in their own way, very good at the kind of stillness that rain seems to invite. When the rain ends, they go back out, often within minutes, as if they had never paused at all. The interruption is taken kindly. Even the bees know when to stop. They go inside. They wait. Tonight, the listener is doing something similar in a different shape, and with a different kind of warmth. Spiders take shelter. Their webs catch tiny pearls and become accidental jewelry. Spider webs are made of remarkably fine threads, often thinner than a human hair. When rain begins, most spiders retreat to the small spaces at the edge of their webs under leaves, in cracks of bark. Inside the small architecture they have woven for themselves, the web itself stays where it is. Each tiny drop that lands on it gathers in a small, perfect bead, held in place by the web's clever geometry. By the time the rain ends, the entire web can be hung with hundreds of small, glassy droplets, each one shining where light catches it. The web becomes, very briefly, one of the most delicate pieces of jewelry the natural world makes. Sometimes the smallest things, with the smallest amount of help, become the most beautiful. Tonight, somewhere, a spider's web is full of tiny pearls. Cats know that rain is coming by the air, not the sound, a small private weather instrument. Cats, like many other animals, can sense small changes in air pressure before rain. The pressure usually drops slightly, and cats often respond by becoming quieter, by curling up in their favorite places, by going to sleep just a little earlier than they otherwise might. They do not do this on purpose. Their bodies are simply built to notice these small shifts in the world. Many people have noticed that their cats seem to know rain is coming long before any human in the room can tell. The cat is, in this sense, a small, gentle weather instrument, one that sleeps and breathes and folds itself softly into a corner of the day. The cat knows when rain is coming. The body, in its own way, often knows too, even when the mind cannot quite say how. Dogs read rain on the ground long before our ears catch it. Dogs have a sense of smell that is, by some measures, 10,000 times more sensitive than ours. When rain begins to fall on dry ground, the smells released petrichor, the molecules from disturbed soil, the scents of leaves suddenly wet are, to a dog, an entire small landscape of news. Dogs often notice rain by smell long before any sound reaches the human ear. They lift their noses. They sniff softly. They sometimes, before any human can tell, walk over to the door, ready to greet the wet air outside. They are, in this sense, our gentle co-listeners in weather. The world, when rain comes, is much louder than the human ear can hear. Other senses, in other animals, hear it long before we do. There is a kind of company in that. Cows lie down before rain in some pastures, a folk observation that has never quite been disproven. For a very long time, in many farming cultures, people have noticed that cows sometimes lie down in their pastures shortly before rain. Whether this is reliable enough to predict weather is still debated by scientists. What seems to be true is that cows, like many large animals, do shift their behavior in response to changes in air pressure and humidity. Some pastures show the pattern more clearly than others. Some cows do not lie down before rain at all. The folk observation, like many old observations, is not perfect, but it is gentle, and it has been kept by people who paid quiet attention to weather and to animals for many generations. Some pieces of old wisdom are not exactly true and not exactly wrong. They are, more than anything, soft, and the world is, in places, kinder for them. Fish come closer to the surface when rain dimples the water, curious, but not afraid. When rain falls on the surface of a pond or lake, it does several quiet things at once. It dimples the water. It oxygenates the upper layer slightly. It shakes loose small insects that had been resting on the surface. Many fish respond to all of this by drifting upward. They are not alarmed. They are, in their own slow way, curious. Some species feed more actively during rain. Others simply rise a little, look around, and then go back to whatever they were doing. Anglers have known this for centuries. Biologists have, more recently, confirmed it. Rain, for fish, is something to gently rise toward. Even underwater, rain is felt. Even there, it is met with a soft, slow movement upward. The world has many ways of saying yes to rain. Every creature has its own quiet relationship with rain. If you could stand somewhere very still during a soft rain and listen long enough, you would notice that every creature in the area is responding to the rain in its own small way. The birds adjust their volume. The frogs find their voices. The bees go in. The spiders shelter. The cats curl up. The dogs sniff the air. The fish come slightly closer to the surface. The earthworms surface from waterlogged soil. The mice shelter in stone walls. None of this is loud. None of it is dramatic. It is just 1,000 small, quiet adjustments, all of them, in their own way, a kind of yes to the rain. Tonight, the listener is part of this same long, gentle list. The body, in its own private way, is also adjusting, also saying, very softly, yes. You might gently let the space between the eyebrows widen. Like a sky after a passing shower, there is nothing the face needs to be deciding tonight. The body keeps a long, quiet archive of every rain it has ever heard. Memory is not just something the mind does. The body, in its own slower way, remembers too. Every rain a person has ever heard, from the rain of childhood to the rain of long, complicated years, to the rain of last week, has left some trace. The neck remembers a particular rainstorm from school days. The shoulders remember a long, soft rain from a quiet afternoon many years ago. The breath remembers the rain that arrived at the right moment after a difficult time. The body does not catalogue these memories the way a librarian would. It simply holds them, the way a long forest holds many seasons inside its rings. When the body hears rain tonight, it is, in some quiet way, hearing every rain it has ever heard. The archive is open. Nothing has to be remembered on purpose. Childhood rain stays in the chest. For life, listening to it can call up rooms you have not seen in years. The rain heard in childhood often becomes a particular kind of memory. It is one of the first sounds the body learns, in a very soft way. To recognize a child sitting at a kitchen window during rain, or lying in a small bed, listening to drops on a roof, takes that sound deep into the body. Many years later, the same sound can call back, very gently, the smell of an old kitchen, the texture of a particular blanket, the feeling of being small in a quiet room. None of this is conscious. The body does not need to plan it. It simply happens. Sometimes, when the right kind of rain comes near a tired adult, tonight's rain may, very gently, to be visiting some childhood version of the listener too. The visit is kind. There is no need to plan how to receive it. A first rain in a new city becomes a small private memory, the city's first soft introduction. When people move to a new city, the first time it rains, there often becomes a small, unexpected memory. The new streets look different in wet light. The new windows hold the sound of rain in their own particular way. The smell of damp pavement, the sound of distant traffic muffled by water, the slight chill of a new climate, all of these gather into a small, almost secret introduction. Years later, returning to that city, the same kind of rain can bring the entire moment back. The new city in this sense, is taught to the body partly through its first rain. After that, the rain is no longer a stranger. Every place a person has lived has had a first rain there. Tonight's rain, perhaps, is meeting the listener somewhere they have lived for a long time, and it knows the room. Memory itself can sound like soft rain, patternless and patterned at once. If you sit quietly for a while and let your mind drift, you may notice that memory does not arrive in straight lines. It comes in small, scattered drops, a moment from yesterday, a face from a decade ago, a small phrase from a conversation that ended long before. Each memory arrives. Then, Fodus, each is small, each is unexpected. Together, they form something that is not chaos and not order, something more like soft rain. There is a pattern in memory, but no rhythm exact enough to count. Researchers studying free recall have, in their own quiet way, described memory using language that often sounds a little like rain. Tonight, the mind may drift the way rain drifts. Some memories may arrive, others may fade. The body does not need to catch any of them. They will keep arriving and keep fading without urgency. Scientists have a name for this gentle kind of attention: soft fascination. In the late 1980s, two researchers studying the restorative effects of nature began to use a phrase that has stayed in the field ever since. They called it soft fascination, the kind of attention a tired mind gives to a slow-moving stream, to a fire, to the wind in a tree, to soft rain. Soft fascination is the opposite of hard, focused attention. It does not require effort. It does not demand an outcome. It only borrows the attention gently, lets it rest there for a while, and gives it back. Researchers think this kind of attention may be part of why nature sounds and natural settings, including rain, often feel restful in a way nothing else does. The attention the rain is asking for tonight is the soft kind. There is nothing to focus on. There is only something gentle to rest the mind upon. Soft fascination doesn't ask the mind to focus. It simply borrows the attention gently and lets it rest. Researchers have noticed something quiet about soft fascination. It seems to allow the parts of the brain that handle hard, focused attention to recover after a long day of focused work, of meetings, of decisions, of small problems requiring effort. Those parts of the brain are tired in a particular way. Soft fascination gives them a chance to rest. The mind is still doing something. It is just doing it gently. The body benefits in a way that is hard to describe. After a long stretch of soft fascination looking at a fire, listening to rain, most people feel a little more themselves again, even if they could not name what changed. Tonight, the rain is doing this small, ancient work, borrowing the mind gently and giving it back, slightly less tired than before. After a long day, rain seems to restore something the mind has spent in studies of attention recovery. Listeners who spent time near nature sounds, including rain, often performed slightly better on small attention tasks afterward. Their reaction times were a little quicker. Their working memory held a little more. Their mood was, on average, a little brighter. None of these effects were large. None of them happened immediately. They were small, slow gifts, the kind that one only notices in retrospect. After the rain had been in the room for a while, whatever the mind had spent during the day. The rain gently returned a portion of it. This is, in some ways, what nature has always done for tired bodies. Tonight, the rain is doing what it has done for as long as humans have been near it. It is, very quietly, putting a little back. Whenever you're ready, allow the legs to feel long and unhurried. Like rivers, leaving the city, there is nowhere they need to walk tonight. The mind under rain often finds its quieter shape again, the one it had before the day started. Most minds begin the day in something close to a soft, open state, not yet pressed by tasks, not yet asked to make decisions. Over the course of a day, the mind takes on shape. It becomes more focused, more directed, sometimes more tense. By evening, the mind has often forgotten what its quieter shape feels like. Rain, very gently, can help bring that shape back. Not all at once, not as a technique, just as a slow, soft companion that listens with the listener and slowly returns the mind to something less pressed. There is no instruction in this. The rain simply continues, and the mind, in its own time, follows. The quieter mind has not gone anywhere. It has only been asked to do other things all day. Tonight, the rain is asking nothing, and the quiet shape can return. The exhausted dreamer has always known this, even if no one has named it. There is a small kind of person, in every era and every place, who arrives at evening already tired. Their day has had too many demands. Their mind has too many open windows. Their body has already been pulling against itself for hours. This person does not need a new technique. They do not need to learn anything more. They have, very privately, always known what to do when rain comes to lie down. To listen, to let the rain do whatever the rain does. The phrase, the exhausted dreamer, is just a name for this person. The rain has been keeping them company for as long as there have been rooms and tired bodies. Tonight, the listener is in a long, quiet line of exhausted dreamers. In many rooms, in many centuries, all listening to rain. None of them need to do anything. The rain is enough. Rain on a window becomes the room's heartbeat uneven, gentle, alive. A window is one of the kindest places to listen to rain. The glass amplifies the small landings of each drop, just enough to make them audible, but it softens the larger sound of weather outside. A drop here, a drop there, a small group of drops together, then a long pause, then another scattered group. The pattern is uneven. It is alive. It is not quite music. It is more like the heartbeat of a quiet room, something the room would not have on its own, but which the rain very gently provides. People have, for centuries, written about this sound. It always seems to surprise them, even when they have heard it many times before. Tonight, if there is a window in the room, it is, in some sense, beating with rain. The room, in turn, has a heartbeat for the night. The body can rest inside that. A roof becomes a soft drum. The sky has been tuning forever. Different roofs make different rain sounds. A wooden roof has a certain warmth. A tile roof has a kind of patient depth. A concrete roof tends to muffle each drop into a soft thump, but all of them, in their own way, are part of the same large, slow drum that the sky has been tuning since the first time it rained. The roof is, in this sense, an old instrument, not one a person can play, but one that the weather plays for the people inside. There is no melody. There is only the long, quiet rhythm, and the rhythm, very softly, lets the room be a kind of small concert hall, with one steady audience and one steady ancien performé. The sky has been practicing on this drum for a very long time. Tonight, it is playing a very gentle piece, one with no end and no beginning that the body needs to track. Tin roofs translate rain into a small, patient percussion. In many parts of the world, especially in tropical regions, but also in older houses across many countries, tin roofs are common. They have a particular relationship with rain. Each drop on a tin roof makes a small, clear sound. Many drops make a soft, layered percussion. Heavy rain on a tin roof can be loud, but soft rain on a tin roof is one of the most distinctive and beloved sleep sounds in the world. People who grew up under tin roofs often describe the sound with great tenderness. Even years after they have moved away, it is, for them, a kind of home that travels. Some roofs have been particularly good listeners to rain over many lifetimes. Tonight, somewhere in the world, soft rain is playing on tin again, and somebody is being lulled to sleep by it. Just as the listener is. A quiet house under rain has a slightly lower pulse than a quiet house without it. When a house is quiet on a dry night, it tends to be very still. The small clicks of cooling wood, the faint hum of a refrigerator, the small breath of the listener. When the same house is quiet on a rainy night, something gentle is added. The rain, falling outside, becomes part of the room's background. The walls feel a little softer. The corners feel a little less sharp. People who have spent quiet time in houses during soft rain often describe the same feeling, that the room's pulse, in some way, is slower. It is not a measurable thing. It is more of a felt thing, but it is real, and it has been kept by tired listeners for a very long time. Tonight, in some quiet way, the room itself is breathing more slowly. The body, hearing this, can do the same. There is no rush. A lamp in a window during rain becomes a small lighthouse for the room. There is something quietly beautiful about a single lamp burning in a window during soft rain. The light, instead of going far, stays close. It softens against the wet glass. It reflects, very gently, in the small drops gathered on the outside. From inside, the lamp gives the room a small circle of warmth that the rain cannot reach. From outside, the same lamp would look like a small, distant kindness, the kind that travelers in old stories used to look for on long, wet nights. The lamp is, in this sense, not just a light. It is also a small, patient companion to the listener and to the rain. Tonight, if a small light is on somewhere in the room, it is keeping its own company with the rain. The body does not need to do more than rest near it. Whenever it feels right, allow the arms to rest a little heavier, like soft branches that have done their day's holding. They have nothing to carry tonight. Reading a book under rain feels different from reading the same book under silence. Many readers, very privately, have noticed something. The same book, read in a silent room, has one feeling. The same book, read in a room with soft rain outside, has another. The rain, somehow, makes the words on the page feel a little closer, a little quieter. The mind drifts a little more easily between the lines. The story, whatever it is, takes on a slightly different texture. Researchers have not, so far, fully explained why, but the experience is widely shared. Readers in many countries, across many languages, have written about it for centuries. The small, quiet companionship of rain to the act of reading. The rain, very gently, can change the feel of any quiet act tonight. Even resting, listening, breathing, each becomes a slightly different shape under soft rain. A bed under rain feels heavier in the kindest way, a small, warm island in a wet world. There is something almost universally remarked upon about lying in bed during soft rain. The bed, somehow, feels a little heavier in a kind way. The blanket settles a little closer. The pillow holds the head a little more gently. None of this is, strictly speaking, the doing of the rain. The bed has not changed, but the contrast between the wet, soft world outside and the dry, warm, small room inside seems to give the body permission to feel slightly more held. It is as if the rain, very privately, is telling the body that there is nowhere it needs to be tonight, except exactly where it is. The rain is keeping the world soft outside. The bed is keeping the listener soft inside. Tonight, that is more than enough. The breath under soft rain often slows without being asked. If the listener pays gentle attention to the breath while soft rain is falling outside, they may notice something quiet. The breath, on its own, has begun to slow. The inhale is a little longer. The exhale is a little softer. The pause between breaths is a little easier. None of this was decided. The body did it on its own. In response to the rain, this is not a rare occurrence. It happens to many people, in many rooms. The breath, in some quiet way, has always known how to fall in step with rain. The mind does not need to instruct it. It only needs to notice that this is happening and let it continue. Tonight, the breath is, in its own way, listening to the rain too. They are slowing together, very gently, like old friends. Many people fall asleep more easily on rainy nights than on dry ones quietly. The body knows. In surveys of sleep, soft rain consistently appears as one of the most preferred background sounds. People report falling asleep faster, sleeping a little more deeply, waking less often. Researchers think this is partly the masking effect of pink noise, and partly something less measurable, the way rain reassures the body that the world outside is, in some sense, settled. There is no danger in soft rain. There is no need to be alert. The mind, hearing this, often does what tired minds want to do. It lets go a little earlier than usual and finds sleep a little more easily than on a dry night. Tonight, the body is in good hands. The rain has done this, very gently, for a great many tired listeners before. It will do it again now. Rain at twilight gives the world a soft, silver-grey glow. When rain falls at twilight, the small, slow hour Between evening and night, the light in the world changes in a particular way. The clouds catch the last sun. The wet streets reflect it. The air itself, full of small drops, scatters the light gently in every direction. The result is a soft, silver-grey glow that does not exist at any other time of day. Painters and photographers have long loved this light. It does not last very long. It comes and it fades, and it leaves only memory behind. But during it, the world is dressed, very briefly, in something close to a private kind of beauty. The light at the edge of evening is, in some way, the kindest light of the day. Tonight, even from inside, the body can rest in the memory of that color. A candle burning during rain seems to listen as much as it gives light. A candle in a quiet room during soft rain has a particular quality. The flame, of course, does not respond to rain at all. The candle, indoors, is in still air and burns its own small, steady fire. But to the listener, the candle seems to be doing more than burning. It seems to be listening. The small flicker, the slow, steady warmth, the soft circle of light, all of it gathers into something that feels like a small companion at the rain. People have, for centuries, sat near candles during rain. The combination is one of the oldest, gentlest pieces of human comfort. Whether or not a candle is in the room tonight, the rain is doing something similar to what a candle does, keeping a small, soft warmth nearby, asking nothing in return. The moon, on rainy nights, rests inside the clouds, a soft, hidden lantern. On a rainy night, the moon is rarely visible. The clouds are too thick, the rain too steady. But the moon is still there, somewhere behind the clouds, doing what the moon always does, holding its small, calm reflection of a sun that the listener cannot see either. On certain nights, the moonlight finds a thin place in the clouds and softly silvers them. Most nights, it does not. The moon, in either case, is unbothered. It has been holding its quiet position for billions of years. A few hours of cloud, a few hours of rain, are nothing to it. The moon is still there tonight. The listener does not need to see it to be kept by it. It is, in a sense, looking after the night anyway. Maybe the jaw, very gently, can unclench like a small lake at first dawn. There is nothing the jaw needs to be holding tonight. Raindrops act as tiny lenses, briefly making everything they pass small and upside down. Every raindrop is a time. In fact, a small lens. As it falls through the air, it bends light passing through it. For a brief moment, anything seen through a raindrop is rendered in miniature small, slightly distorted, often upside down. Photographers have been quietly delighted by this for decades. A single raindrop on a leaf can hold a tiny image of an entire garden, complete with sky and trees and small flowers, all upside down inside the drop. The world, very briefly, is held inside the rain. There is something beautiful about this. Even though no one is usually looking closely enough to notice, the rain, very privately, is full of tiny upside-down worlds. Tonight, the listener does not need to see them. They are quietly happening anyway. Wet pavement at night reflects city light, as if a second city were under the streets. A wet street at night holds a quiet, beautiful illusion. Each lamppost, each lit window, each passing car is reflected in the slick surface of the pavement, as if a slightly softened version of the city were lying just beneath the streets. Photographers and filmmakers have used this look for many years to suggest tenderness, memory, late hours. The wet streets do not do anything special. They simply mirror the lights as best they can, and the result happens to be quietly beautiful. Cities, in soft rain at night, often look like better, gentler versions of themselves, even when nothing has actually changed. Tonight, somewhere, a wet street is holding the soft reflection of a streetlight. The city, in soft rain, has become, for a little while, kinder than it was during the day. Dim light is what the body has expected for most of human history when it is time to rest. For nearly all of human history, the only kind of light available after sunset was firelight candles, oil lamps, hearths. This light is dim, warm, and flickering. The body, over many thousands of years, learned to associate this kind of light with the slow approach of rest. Bright, even electric light is a relatively recent thing. The body has not, in any deep way, adjusted to it. On a rainy night, when the natural light outside has already softened, dim, warm light inside meets the body in a familiar, ancient way. The body recognizes this. It remembers, very softly, that this is what evenings used to feel like. Tonight, in soft rain, the world looks the way it has looked for most of human history. At this hour, dim, gentle, familiar to the body, in a way the mind cannot quite name. After rain, the air carries a kind of gold, small particles of light, suspended longer than usual. When rain has fallen for a while, the air becomes cleaner. The drops gather small dust and pollen on their way down and carry them gently to the ground. The clean air that remains is more transparent than usual. As a result, the next morning's light, or, in the case of a passing daytime shower, the next hour's light often looks unusually golden. Painters call this golden hour, but rain has its own private version of it. The light after rain has a soft, almost luminous quality that photographers and travelers have admired for as long as there have been cameras and travel. The rain, very quietly, is also cleaning the air for tomorrow. The morning, when it comes, will be a little brighter, for tonight's small, slow work, rain at dawn, falling on a sleeping village, is one of the gentlest sounds a planet can make. In many parts of the world, especially in older villages with stone or wood roofs, the sound of rain at dawn is a particular small treasure. The village is mostly still asleep. The fields and gardens are dark and soft. Birds are barely beginning to stir. Into all of this, rain falls not heavy, not frantic, just enough to be heard, just enough to dampen the world. The sound, heard by anyone awake at that hour, is one of the quietest, most beautiful things a planet can make. People who hear it tend to remember it for life. The village, the dawn, the rain, all of it gathers into a small, deep memory. Somewhere on the planet, dawn rain is falling on a small village right now. The body, hearing the rain in its own room tonight, is not far from that ancient sound. Light passing through a single drop can hold the entire color of a forest. A raindrop, depending on what is around it, can hold the colors of an entire small landscape. A drop on a rose holds soft pink. A drop on a fir branch holds deep green. A drop falling through autumn leaves holds gold. The drop is too small for the human eye to see all of this directly. But photographers with close-up lenses have gathered, for years, images of single drops holding whole small worlds in miniature. Every drop in tonight's rain is, in this sense, a small, hidden gallery carrying a tiny, upside-down portrait of whatever it last passed by. Tonight, every drop in the rain is, in some small way, carrying a piece of the world that made it. None of this is for the listener to see. It is simply happening, very quietly, all night long. Rain has its own time slower than the clock, kinder than the schedule. Clocks and schedules belong to the daytime world. They divide hours into minutes and minutes into seconds. They make the day useful. Rain, however, follows none of this. Rain has its own time, which is longer, slower, and gentler than any clock. Rain begins when it begins. It eases when it eases. It returns when it returns. It does not check the time. It does not feel late. It does not need to be measured. People who spend long periods in places where rain matters, in farming villages, in old monasteries, in quiet forests, often slowly come to live a little more in rain time and a little less in clock time. Tonight, the listener can borrow rain time for a few hours. There is nothing on the schedule that cannot wait until morning. Maybe the shoulders can soften now, like a coastline meeting calm tide. Whatever they were carrying today does not need to be carried tonight. The oldest rain humans ever heard sounded almost exactly like the rain tonight. Rain, in its physical sound, has not really changed. The drops still form the same way. They fall the same way. They land on the same kinds of surfaces. The earliest humans, sheltering in caves or under trees, heard rain that sounded essentially the same as the rain falling tonight. Languages have changed. Cities have come and gone. Tools have changed almost beyond recognition. But the sound of rain has been, for as long as there have been ears to hear it, almost identical. This is one of the very small handful of sounds that has been kind to humans without changing for hundreds of thousands of years. The rain in this room tonight is, in its sound, the same rain that has been keeping tired humans company for a very long time. Some kindnesses do not need to be updated. Rain has no schedule. It arrives when it arrives. And the world has learned to accept this. In many parts of the world, especially in regions with a clear monsoon, rain is awaited sometimes for months. People prepare. They ready their crops. They watch the sky. And yet, even with all this attention, rain ultimately arrives on its own time. It might come a week early, or 2 weeks late, or right when expected. People have, over many generations, made peace with this. They have built a kind of patience around rain that is rare in other parts of life. They wait, they watch, they do what they can, and then, They let the rain decide. There is something quietly freeing in being near a thing that does not run on a schedule. Tonight, the rain is doing what rain does, arriving on its own time. The body can do the same with sleep. The rain has no rush. It has never been late to anywhere it needed to be. Rain, by every measurable standard, has been arriving on this planet on time for billions of years. It does not rush to fall. It does not slow to delay. It moves at the pace it moves at, which is, on average, slower than walking and faster than drifting. The clouds let go when they are ready. The drops fall when they are ready. The earth receives them when they arrive. There is no version of this story in which rain is late. Rain has never been late. The very idea of being late does not, in any meaningful way, apply to it. People who pay close attention to rain often quietly absorb a little of this same patience. It can be a kind of gift. Nothing the listener is carrying tonight is more urgent than the rain's quiet, slow arrival. And the rain has, in its own time, arrived. Rain teaches the world a slower kind of timing, one with no minutes in it. There are old monastic traditions in many parts of the world that use rain as a teacher. The novice is taught to listen. They are not asked to count drops. They are not asked to measure rain. They are asked, simply, to let rain teach them what it knows about time. After many years of this, monks often describe a slow, quiet shift inside them. They begin to feel time differently. They become less anxious about minutes. They grow more comfortable with hours that pass without being measured. None of this is mystical. It is just what happens when a person spends enough time near rain. Tonight, the rain is, very gently, the only teacher in the room. The lesson, if there is one, is to soften. Rain returns. It always returns. No matter how dry a place becomes, rain eventually returns. This has been true throughout the long history of the planet. Even the deserts, even the long droughts, even the difficult years they end, the rain comes back. Sometimes it takes weeks, sometimes months, sometimes more, but it returns. It has, in this sense, been one of the most reliable companions the earth has ever had. Whatever long absence a place may have had to endure, the rain has, in its own time, eventually come back. The earth has learned to trust this. Many people, very privately, we have learned to trust it too. Tonight, the rain has returned to wherever the listener is. It will go again, in time, and then return again. There is something quietly steadying about a thing that always comes back. Rain is one of the kindest punctuation marks on a human life. If a life were a long, slow sentence, rain would be one of its kinder punctuation marks. It pauses things. It asks people to come inside. It softens what was too bright. It cools what was too hot. It quiets what was too loud. It rests what was too tired. It has been doing this. In every life, in every era, in every climate where rain falls at all. People rarely notice this on the days the rain comes. They notice it later. Looking back, and they often realize, very softly, that the rainy days were the ones where the world finally let them rest. Tonight is, perhaps, one of those small punctuation marks. The world has, For now, gone soft. The body can do the same. Whenever it feels right, allow the chest to expand a little wider on the inhale and fall a little deeper on the exhale, like a soft tide that has all night to come and go. There is no rain that asks anything of the listener, it only ever offers. Unlike many things in a human life, rain does not request anything. It does not ask the listener to plan, to decide, to remember, to perform. It does not ask for attention, or reply, or thanks. It simply falls, in its own quiet way, and is heard or not heard by whoever happens to be near it. The relationship is entirely one-sided in the kindest possible direction the rain offers, and asks nothing back. People who realize this, sometimes for the first time during a quiet night like this one, often find a particular kind of relief in it. There is, finally, something that wants nothing from them. Tonight, the rain wants nothing. It is only offering. The body is allowed to simply receive it, the way a forest floor receives rain quietly, completely, without effort. The rain, tonight, is enough. Most things in a human life require something from the person experiencing them: attention, decision, effort, pay, response. Rain, tonight, does not. The rain, tonight, is enough on its own. It does not need to be added to. It does not need to be improved. It does not need to be paid attention to in any particular way. It is already complete, already gentle, already doing the slow, quiet work it has been doing for billions of years. The listener is not asked to bring anything to it. The rain has already brought everything it needs. The body is allowed, very softly, to find this enough. This night, this rain, this room enough. There is nothing missing. There is nothing left to do. The last fact about soft rain is the kindest one. It has been here all along, and it will keep being here, very gently, for as long as the listener can hear it. After all of these facts about pink noise, about clouds, about Petrichor, about old languages, about animals, about memory, about light, about time, there is one last fact that is, in some ways, the kindest. The rain has been here all along. While the listener was working through their day, the sky was already gathering tonight's rain. While the listener was making decisions, the clouds were already moving softly toward this room. While the listener was wondering whether the day would be enough, the rain was already on its way, ready to make the night a kinder place. The rain does this for everyone. Every time it rains, the listener is, tonight, simply the one being kept company. The rain has been quietly preparing this small, soft night for hours. Tonight, all the listener has to do is be in it. The rain will do the rest. And so, very softly, the night settles in. The sky has been raining for nearly 4 billion years. Tonight, in this small room, that long, ancient rain is keeping the listener gentle company, the same way it has kept countless tired bodies company in countless rooms before this one. There is nothing that needs to be remembered from any of this. There is no fact to hold on to. There is no detail to keep. The mind is allowed, very gently, to let all of it go. The body has heard what it needed to hear. Whatever stayed will stay. Whatever drifted away has been allowed to drift. The way rain itself drifts without urgency, without effort, without anyone needing to direct it. The room, below, is quieter than it was at the start. The rain is still falling somewhere. In its own slow time, the breath is, in its own slow way, falling in step with the rain. The shoulders have softened. The hands have softened. The face has softened. The whole body is both very privately, somewhere between awake and asleep, the small, kind threshold that the rain has walked beside the listener all the way to. Whenever you're ready, you might let the whole body grow softly heavier into the bed. The way damp earth grows softly heavier under hours of gentle rain. Nothing is being asked of the body now. Nothing is being asked of the mind. The night, very kindly, is taking over from here. The rain will keep falling, somewhere on the planet, for the rest of the night. Wherever the listener drifts to, the rain will continue soft. Ancien, patient, kind. Good night. May the rain keep gentle company until morning.